Good morning. It's June 26th, 2026, and I wanted to do a quick video showing some of the new persimmon grafts I've done this week. So you can kind of see here there's a few trees in the orchard here that are more mature. That one is a female that's borne some fruit, and there's a few others that are just starting to flower. I've got a few grafts that are a few years old now. Thankfully, a lot of them survived the winter. But to show some of the new ones, this small one here on the kind of southeast extremity of this planting is I-94. Now that's a 2025 scion, so that may not take. The scions were a bit dried out, but I'll just show some of the grafts. Here, this one is D128 Dollywood, and that's grafted up at about face level. Here we have a nice proc from a few years ago that's growing well. I've had to thin the branches off of that several times because it was so vigorous. Here we've got DEC Wannabe number 3 at about chest height, and these are all done in the last few days, so none of them are showing any signs of movement yet. Here's another one, L93A, grafted at about a little over waist height, and I've been leaving stripping off almost all the branches, the leaves underneath, which in some cases has meant taking off a lot of, 90% of the tree. But I think that's the best thing to do to push the growth to the scion. So this is Barbara's Blush at the base with this honeysuckle at the base, and this one's grafted high at about face level. And I started wrapping the whole scion in most cases because I think to keep it from drying out, we're going to get into some hot weather here soon. Which is one reason I waited to graft, because we didn't have really the right weather for grafting until recently. This is 145 on a small thing, it's lower than knee level. And I'm doing fewer bark inlay grafts this year. I really don't care for the way those heal, and I'll show you in a minute why. This is I-94, again with the 2025 scion at about waist level. This one over here has some flowers on it, and I haven't really determined if these are male or female flowers, so there's a little flower. Wait, where's the flower? There. And then I just saw somewhere else there's a flower here that may finally be open enough to tell. Where did I just see that? Oh, here. Yeah, these flowers are pretty inconspicuous. Where'd it go? There. So the female flowers are bigger than the male flowers a little bit. So I'm not yet an expert on in the way they're arranged on the stem, also as a clue. This again is last year's scion, U20A Celebrity. I just kind of did one of the two branches of this tree because this also is, one that could be flowering this year but probably won't. That one's grafted about face high. And then here, Hershey Fruit Drop. I kind of cut the top off of this tree, or half of the top, and left most of it. So this is a new graft for me, a new type of graft. This is called what Tom Wall calls a barn door graft. And you won't be able to see it, but it's basically just putting one bud in. You cut out 2 slits in the bark. This works, I guess, better for mismatched scion. So you just slip basically one bud in and then wrap it up. And that's what that is. And the reason I said I don't like bark inlay grafts too much is because this is Gordon from a few years ago. And this thing's never really healed over very well. And I've got some other ones like this too. Not really wild about how that looks. I just cut off some of this thing, this stump here, to try to give it a better way to heal. But I'd like for that to heal over sooner rather than later. Here's some serious bark damage on this thing. I don't know if that was a deer rub initially or rabbit girdling, but you see, it could be southwest entry. Got some bark problems on some of these. So now, going over here to the west a bit, I've got another L93A, that's last year's scion. And you see these bamboo things that are either lashed to the stick or next to it. Donald Compton Goliath, not David and Goliath. In some cases I've got 2 trees growing next to each other, so I just pick one and graft the other. Now here we're kind of about as far west as we have gone with persimmons here. This is H118 grafted between knee and waist high. And we'll kind of come back over here, walking over a bunch of logs and things that I've laid down. Now here you can see I've cut off, the whole top of the tree. This is Hershey fruit dump, thin cyanwood. This was probably a whip graft instead of a whip and tongue, which is my normal preferred graft, I guess. Whip and tongue, because it gives you that kind of mechanical connection. 100-46, grafted about shoulder high. Probably whip and tongue. This is DEC Moneymaker, grafted about a little over waist high. And here too, there are two trees growing. So it could be that one was planted and it died and resprouted. I don't know if I said what that one was over there. Autumn A2. So sometimes I grafted really high like this. This is like head high. Autumn 2, that's a Donald Compton, or maybe a Jim Claypool via Donald Compton selection. And so this one, let's see if I can show you this. There's a leaf here and it had these caterpillars on it. And my friend told me that these are a silkworm, Promethea silkworm, or something like a spice bush silkworm. Probably, sorry Jessica if I'm misspeaking there. But anyway, I trimmed some branches off of the mother plant here for this graft. I noticed these things last night, so I came this morning to move them back to the canopy so they can continue browsing on fresh leaves. But those are really cool, huge moths. 146, sorry if I already said this one, that's about shoulder height. And so there's a couple more, there's candidates around here that could be grafted. This one, something happened, it died, and so all this new growth is from this year. Now, I don't think you'd try grafting this because it's probably not lignified enough. It's too soft and fragile. Maybe it'd be worth trying it, but it wouldn't be very secure. There's deer candy, grafted a little below waist height. This one here is a graft from 3 years ago, I think, Sweet Seedy Surprise. And I'm not seeing any flowers just yet. These flowers are pretty inconspicuous and hard to find when they first start coming out. This larger tree here that this Sweet Seedy is grafted onto a root sprout of, this one is a female, although it doesn't seem to have a lot of flowers this year. The fruit is, probably decent, not amazing. Now here, this is the largest tree. And this one too, there's been no signs of flowers, a little bit of leaf spot trouble. But it's a nice tree, planted in 2012. It's probably, 3 inches at breast height. And over here, this is a graft from a year or two ago. And I'm probably forgetting, 140 something, 45 or 6. So I need to get that one a cage, and it had a weird growth habit. Need to cage that one. This is Gary Welburn's pear tree. This one's too small to graft yet. This one I did a real butcher job on too. I grafted it way high, like 7 feet high. And this is deer candy. Just because I wanted to match the scion to the diameter. So don't know if this is male or female. We'll have to do some observation of that to see what happens. And if it's a male, then keep most of those lower branches off or regraft them to other stuff. 146. This is the graft this year, a little less than shoulder height. Sorry for the focus everywhere. So this is what I call the limbed up pine in my records. I've got a few. I've got to make a better map of my persimmons specifically. Here's a 100-45 on slender rootstock. That's a little less than knee height. Here we've got a 118 Elmo, again, short, lower to the ground. That's probably a whip graft. That really slender cyanwood, I don't usually try a whip and tongue because there's just not enough to work with to make the tongue cut. DEC Wannabe number 3, grafted a little over waist height here at the very kind of northeast edge of the persimmon patch. This one, did I already say what it was? H63A. This is from a year or two ago. It's a whip and tongue, and you can see there, maybe if it focuses, that's the remnant of that graft. And then Dollywood D128 here at about 4-foot height, kind of at the northwest edge of the persimmons. And I did do a couple grafts earlier, a couple years ago, of Morris Burton over here, and they did not survive. So this little pond here is kind of the edge of the persimmon patch. So here we are with the overall view. There's probably at least 60 persimmons in this area. I'd have to pace it off and tell you how big of an area it is, but you know, they're planted probably every 5 to 8 feet, I would say, and then that's a bit tight spacing, but we're going to go with it and see how it works. You know, some will be removed if they're males, or to favor particularly good ones in the future, and I may let root sprouts grow up and fill in the gaps if there are some that need to be filled in. But I'm pretty happy with persimmons. I'm most excited about persimmons of all the crops I'm attempting to grow here. Here we've got kind of a dense, these are too closely spaced. I can't remember if I lost some records here. 1 or 2 of these may have been grafted also. Nice big leaves on some of these grafts, man, look at that. Beautiful, kind of tropical foliage. But that's how things are looking here in late June. This warm weather, I'm gonna hope for some some good callousing and not hopefully not too much heat and drought stress. It's been a pretty good year for rainfall so far, so we're not feeling too much drought yet. Now if it turns off hot and stays hot, then that could be a different story, but most of this area has been mulched pretty well, and I will come and supplementally water if I have to. But I'm going to start caging some of the successful grafts that I've done, keep the deer off of those because they do browse these a bit, and try to really nurture and encourage the growth back here, because I really am excited about these things bearing. It's the best fruit that we can grow in Zone 5 in my opinion. Okay, I hope everybody's well. Talk to you later. Bye.